Well, Dick, thank you very much for making the time to sit down with me today. It's an absolute honor to have this opportunity to talk to you about the legend that is Ayrton Senna. So first of all, I would love to ask you, when did you first hear the name Ayrton Senna? And what were the whispers at that time?
I've heard of him when he was driving Formula Ford 1600 through Van Diemen's. Then I got introduced to him in the middle of '82 by Dennis Russian, who was running him in Ford 2000. And everyone said to me, this guy is different. Mm-hmm. He is incredible. So we had a chat. Being a Kiwi, I thought, yeah, not a Brazilian driver, but he then approached us towards the end of '82. There was a non-championship race at Thruxton. So we went to Snetterton for a half-day test, and he just, it was interesting, he was in the '82 car, which is a Kiki Mansilla car, which Ayrton and Kiki had lots of battles in 1600 together. Mm-hmm. And he was so quick in that car, straight out the box. And he assured me he'd never driven an F3 car before. And he was very impressive, very focused. Mm-hmm. His feedback was incredible because there's no data in cars in those days. There was seat of the pants engineering. So we agreed to do the non-championship race at Thruxton, and pole position first, fastest lap. I think he won by about 13 seconds. Wow. Got out the car, he said, I like you, I like the car. He said, I want to drive next year.
Fantastic.
Short chat. He got on the plane back to Brazil. No big contracts at all.
So you had heard that he was different. He then proved to you that he was clearly another kind of specimen when it comes to his driving. But when you first met him, what was your first impression of him as a person?
He was very, he was quite quiet for some drivers, some very loud drivers, but he was very precise what he wanted. His attitude was he wanted to win. He wanted to be in a good car, good team. His self-belief was very strong, and which he turned out to prove to be. He was an all-rounder. When he had the first race, his technical feedback, engine, chassis, everything was so precise that I thought this guy, he is special.
He proved himself on the track, but once he actually joined your team, how did he fit into the team?
He disappeared back to Brazil, and I hardly heard from him at all. Of course, there's no mobile phones in those days, and we get the occasional phone call, yep, all good, and then he only arrived back like 3 weeks or so before the first race. Signed the 2-page contract, money transferred to the bank, and then away we went. Then another interesting little side story was, he saw the car in the workshop. He said, where's the blue car? Because that was the Mansilla car that he'd wait. He said, I like that car. I said, well, we give you a new car. Every year a driver has a new car. But I like that car. He's almost upset we got him a brand new car.
Yeah.
I said, don't worry, it'll be an evolution of the '82. And sure enough, it was. But Ayrton he's always wanted to talk about the chassis and the engine response and everything. And my background is engineering, so I enjoyed it. And I still do these days, whereas other people want to talk about other things. But any driver like that, to me, is I enjoy working with, because you can develop a car.
And you speak the same language.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I know that you were, as you say now, and from the research I've done, I've also understood that the technical side of motorsport was really 100% of your focus, almost to a fault, where some teams are focusing a little bit more on commercial aspects. The technical side was really what your focus was on. And as you say, Ayrton seemed to share a similar passion for the technical side of the sport. Do you think that that's what made him as extraordinary as he was, or was that just a part of what made him extraordinary?
I think it started probably from his early go-kart days, because I was quite amazed how accurate his feedback was, being new into Formula 3. and every little detail. And even sometimes he would phone me up 2 days after a test or race, and Dickie, I just remembered, he said, on lap 4, the car did this, going through that corner. I go, "Oh," he's like a computer in his mind. And I go, okay, I'll make notes, and then next time we sat down, we'll try that, we'll do that, see if we can fix that. So it was a pleasure to work with. Very strong-minded on, didn't like finishing second. It was one of his downfalls, which later in the year we found out that I had to sit him down several times, and finishing second, you'll still win the championship. I want to win, So he had that streak in him that he wanted to win, and so that is off away from the racetrack. He was a really nice guy. As I said, his friend Mauricio Goujon, we used to go to a Chinese restaurant in Shepparton. He'd call up, even in F1 days, can we go to a Chinese and have a chat? And he'd often ring me sometimes if he'd seen an F3 race later years. Why aren't you winning? Why aren't you? I said, well, we're trying, Ayrton, but sometimes we haven't got the best driver sometimes. But you should be winning, So he had this mentality that winning is everything. But
the fact that he was calling when he was in F1 to call and check up on your team just goes to show the kind of relationship that the two
yes, yeah, he would ring up and there's a photo on the wall here of when we ran Mauricio in 85. Ayrton came along to the final round to help out, and he could not believe how low the rear wing was. Silverstone Grand Prix track, and he kept nudging me. Maurizio sitting there goes, Dickie, you haven't got enough rear wing on. I said, we've tested here for 2 days, we're happy where we're going. He said, everyone else has got more wing on than you. I said, don't worry. He was concerned for Ayrton, for Mauricio. Of course, we won the race and won the championship, but that was his attention to detail, like I used to enjoy, or still do to a point, that he would walk down the grid and he would look at tyres, that's greening a bit there, And he was in Formula One, Lotus in those days, but he would still show a very keen interest.
By the sounds of things, he oozed with confidence, particularly when he was in the car, and there was even an element of, shall we call it, ruthlessness in some cases. Outside in the car, it sounds like he was a really nice guy as well. So would you say there was an element of almost a split personality between the driver and the person?
Yeah, I mean, when he's at a race car or at a race meeting, he's 110% focused on that. But away from that, we had a couple of barbecues, and he taught us how to make what's the Brazilian caipirinha?
Caipirinha.
Yeah, he taught us how to make them. No, you do that, you mix that. And he was a good, fun guy. Yeah, ruthless is probably a good word of how to describe him.
Behind the wheel.
Yeah, when he's behind the wheel, but away from the racetrack, a good laugh. Yeah.
You won 9 back-to-back races at the beginning of the season. What was that like? You must have felt as if on won the jackpot with Senna and the team combination coming together nicely.
It was like first race win, great. Second, right, third one. Because in 81 we'd won the first 4 races with Jonathan, then the bubble burst. Yeah. So with Ayrton 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we had such a lead over Martin. The 10th round was a European round at Silverstone Grand Prix. Mm. So we decided to go for an outright win. We won't go for the British Championship points. So we switched from Avons to Yokohama tyres. Mm-hmm. I'd forgotten that EJ had run Yokohama's all 82 in Europe. So he had a good relationship with Yokohama tyres. We didn't as our first time. Mm-hmm. So we're learning about Yokos. So Martin gets pole, Ayrton second. And then back to what we said earlier, Ayrton doesn't like finishing second. Chasing Martin, big gap to third place, just a 2 of the minute. And then I forget what lap it was, 8 or 10. He crashed at Woodcote into the catch fence. And he said, I think I had a slow puncher. I think I picked up a puncher down at Clump Corner. I said, okay. Because the wheel was damaged, we couldn't tell.
I remember seeing that picture. It's sort of like behind a wall of tires, but then you have a fence with wooden pillars. There's a famous picture, I think there is, of Senna and his F3 cars gone off.
Probably, yes, because they have the wooden post with the wire catch fencing.
Exactly,
The
that
car was tangled up in that.
Yeah.
And so that was the safety standards in those days.
Thank goodness they have come forward since then.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the bubble burst.
When it did burst, how did he deal with that, knowing that he didn't like to finish anything but first?
It was difficult because he's a very intelligent guy. And I thought he knows what he's doing. But then, again, it came back to like not picking up on the engine that Martin had. Because, okay, the battle, sometimes Alan Berg was in there, mainly Davy Jones. But normally it was Ayrton and Martin. And they had some very close tussles at times, wheel banging each other. And then that's when I sort of realised, Ayrton, why don't you just finish second? We didn't have any pitch-to-car radio in those days. It was the old Peltor system. So I couldn't talk to him in the car. But he would have an accident. He said, yeah, look, we need to do something. I said, well, just, if you still finish second every race, you'll win the championship. No, I want to win. So go to another meeting, finishes second, go to another meeting, wins it, go to another meeting, finishes second, next meeting he crashes again. I thought, oh, no. So I had to sit him down over a serious chapter, not only the cost of repairing the car.
What were those serious chats like, if I can ask you? I mean, it sounds like you had quite a personality and you were the boss after all. How did you tackle him head on in those moments? When you say serious, what do you mean?
I probably wasn't a strong enough boss in those days. Second year of our own team, and being an engineer, not a businessman, I probably should have approached him slightly differently, but I didn't. And yeah, we had some good old heart-to-hearts about how we must continue for the rest of the year. But then we got to Cadwell Park, fantastic circuit, and we'd won it in 81, second in 82, and qualifying was 9 till 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning, one-day meeting, and 25 past 90 pits. I said, you're on pole by a tenth and a half. I got my 4 handheld watches. I said, you're on pole by 10.5 over Martin. Then it's Davy Jones about 3 tenths further back. I said, then there's only you 3 in it. I can go a lot quicker, he said. Just needs a bit more front end. So I said, we've got like 2 minutes left, so half a degree of front wing, go. And out he went. And he didn't finish the flying lap. Crashed quite badly. He went into a concrete marshal's post, and an aluminium chassis just went about 2 foot shorter.
So the one-day meet is not what you want. No time to repair.
Nah.
Maybe those were lessons that he needed to learn. I mean, it's...
I would have thought, intelligent young lad.
Yeah. Yeah.
His will to win again.
Got the better of him.
Yeah.
Well, finally, in the end of the year, you guys managed to win the championship at the final race. Surely that must have been a real relief and a great moment to share together.
It was a big relief, trust me, because, after having won the first 9 out of 9 races, I thought this is going to be, a walkover, which it could have been, But we finished up going through 2 chassis, several little incidents. One at Alton Park finished up on top of Martin's car. But yeah, at the end of the day, winning it at Truxton was a big relief. And I joke with them, because in those days, the number of where you were in the championship was the number on the car. So I purposely started having belief in them. We started with number 11, offset on the nose. So after race 1, pulled the one off, number 1. And for the final round, actually, Martin was in the lead. So I had to go and buy number 2. So I said to Ayrton, this has cost me. to go and buy some number 2s to put on the nose. But straight after the race, I had a number 1 to get it back on. So no, it was his mum and dad was over for that race. We had a party that night down there at a restaurant in Shepparton. Yeah, very relieved. But then we did Macau as well. And that's, to me, winning the British F3, we sort of expected to win it, going by his early season. But coming to Macau, he was incredible because it's the first time Formula 3 have been to Macau. So top British 6 cars, top 6 French, top 6 from Germany and Italy, and I think about 4 from Japan. So a very strong field. Ayrton didn't arrive till the Wednesday night midnight because he'd been testing the Brabham Formula 1 car down at Paul Ricard. So he had to fly from Ricard to Paris to Hong Kong, then he was jet foil across.
Take the ferry over to Macau.
So he didn't arrive there till like 2 o'clock in the morning Thursday, and first practice was like 10 o'clock Thursday morning. And all the other drivers had been there, walking around the track, making notes. And he hops in the car, never seen the track, and goes round and round, just comes back in, yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, change that. Out he goes again. Comes qualifying, bang, pole position. Where did that come from? That was his pure talent, man. Saturday, there was nothing happening at all. There's 2 races on the Sunday. And we were supposed to have a debrief Saturday lunchtime. We were in the Marlborough Theodore garages. So the guys prepared the car, got it ready. I said, Harry, I called him, he should be here about 12:01. He didn't turn up. So I said, right, just finish the car, put a cover on it, go back to the hotel. He turned up at 6 p.m. I went, oh, we agreed 1 o'clock. I've been sitting there all afternoon. I don't feel very well, he said. Oh, and I thought jet lag maybe, because I only arrived on Wednesday night. But I still do not know to this day. Apparently he went out Friday night because he's on pole and there's nothing happening Saturday. And I've heard various rumours that he had a couple of drinks, but knowing him as I did, I didn't think he would, pre such a big event. Someone then told me someone had laced his drink in a bar. And so Sunday morning goes out, race 1, pole, wins it comfortably. And then we're doing, because there's no garages in those days, early Macau days, we're sitting on the edge of the gutter, on the edge of the track, having a debrief. I'm making my little notes. And he said, just don't touch the car. He said, it's good. He said, I need to go and have a sleep. Yeah. And he went back to the hotel and went away for, I think it was a 3 or 4 hour gap between the 2 heats. And he come back about half an hour before the second heat. You all right, mate? Yeah. Got in the car, goes out, wins it.
Well, we know how things progressed from then onwards. We know he ended up making it into F1 and being a star driver there. You mentioned that you guys stayed in touch, but how close was your relationship at that time? And he was calling you, pushing you on and expecting you to deliver better results at F3, but did you ever call him and maybe,
Occasionally, yes. I actually, 85, I helped to buy a house for him. He didn't want his name at a estate agent's, so I put my name down and I sorted out, he wanted to be within 30 minutes of Heathrow, flying in and out to Grand Prix, and he was going to share it with Mauricio. So I found 5 properties, we went round them, and there was one not too far from here, and he didn't really like the lady who owned it, how she treated him. So when we left, they had a big gravel driveway, and he wheel spun down the driveway sideways. But also, we got him back in an F3 car in 84.
Okay.
We had a young Spanish lad, and the 84 car was so close to the 83 car, he wasn't going as quick as I expected. So I said to his manager, I said, if you don't mind, I'll get one of my old F3 drivers to do a bit of a test for you, just to check the car out.
Yeah. Check what pace the car could really.
And I rang Ed and I said, mate, can you come and help me out? Oh, okay, to 84. He comes to Severton. The driver and his manager's faced her. Senna. I said, yep. I said, because he drove last year, he's familiar. And he hopped in the car and he sat there in like small steering wheel, nothing on it. And he went out and did 5 or 6 laps back in. He said, the brakes are no good, it's got no horsepower. He just come out of a Tolman F1 car. He said, let me think about it. Took his helmet off. He sat there for probably 5 minutes. And he said, right, I'm ready to go. And afterwards he said, I was just re-engaging my brain back to Formula 3. So put the helmet back on, out he went. Within 10 laps, he's like half a second quicker. And he got out the car, he took me to one side, he said, I can go quicker, he said, but I don't want to
embarrass.
I said, thanks, mate.
Enough as it is.
He said, there's nothing wrong with that car.
Now, lastly, I want to ask you, having been in the position you've been in motorsport, and so many great drivers came through your team and ended up in Formula One, you were a kingmaker of some sort. Who would you say came through your team, or who would you say you've seen in motorsports? Let's say who have you seen either in the time that you worked in motorsports with young drivers coming through, or even today from a distance, would you say showed similar qualities to Ayrton Senna?
Mika wasn't in the level of Ayrton with his feedback. Mika couldn't feel an engine like Ayrton could. But Mika's raw talent was incredible when he drove for us. He couldn't tell him much at all. His debrief was with his hands. It's understeering or it's oversteering. Whereas Ayrton could sit there and go through turn in, mid-corner, exit, everything precisely.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been really insightful and lovely stories. I'm sure we could sit here all day with me listening to some stories from back in the day. Maybe we'll turn the camera off now so we can tell me some of them fun stories.